council session. Some city business. This is the city council meeting for Payson City, July 17th, 2024, and the time is 5 after 6 o'clock. We'd like to start this council session out with prayer, and Council Rowley is volunteered to do that.
Our dear, kind, loving Father in heaven, Father, as we gather tonight as residents and as your children, we pray that thou will please bless us with a portion of thy spirit throughout the proceedings of this meeting. Please bless and help us to be calm, collected, and to have good communication between one another. We are thankful for the concern of residents and for the chance we have to serve this community. Father, please bless that we will make wise decisions concerning the future. Help us to protect freedoms and to protect individual rights tonight. Heavenly Father, we pray that thou will please help us to become more Christ-like and to focus on him. Father, please be with us. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Council Christians are volunteered to do the take us to the pledge.
Christ. Pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving along, we'll go to E, consent agenda. One, approval of the July 3rd, 2024 City Council minutes. Number 2, resolution, Utah County reimbursement agreement. Any discussion about those that agenda? Council, I'm ready to vote.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call, starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
Council Christian.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Have petitions. Chamber quarterly report. Diane, are you here with us? Don't see her. Okay, moving on. We'll go, I guess the next one was chamber business as well. I'm sure that Diane's here with us. So we'll on to number 3, a public forum. Anyone can speak on an item that's not on the agenda. And please be cognizant of your time. Identify yourself as you speak. So come on up to the podium. Thank you for coming here and being part of the council meeting.
Hi, my name is Angela Layton Lacey. I live at 9517 South, 6200 West in Payson, West Mountain. And we are here because we are very concerned learning about this project. It's devastating to us. This obviously is a money issue. I understand. We get that. We all have to figure out our stuff. But what you will be giving to Payson, you'll be taking from West Mountain. You know, there were 3 the highest income homes, the areas were listed. They were listed. They had been Park City, Alpine, and West Mountain. Those 3. They just added 2 more to that, but we are still on there. And this is a place where you're choosing to help CMP put a gun range that will be devastating to us. We'll lose everything. We had no idea this was coming. We had no idea you were talking about it. You've been talking about it, at least that I've researched, since 2020. That's a long time for you guys to be able to plan and come up with, you know, you've had people come in and for days and looking at areas and, man, come to my house, let me make you dinner, sit on my porch and see what West Mountain is about. And then think about what it'll be with 4,000 people a month driving up there and shooting guns. It will devastate us. I can't live there. I have a daughter with mental illness. I cannot live there with her. I will have to move. We put everything we had into this home, everything. My husband raises cutting horses as a business. He can't raise cutting horses there. we won't be able to sell our house. Who would buy our house? The head of CMP told us that he could not live there because of the noise. The head of CMP said that. He wouldn't live there. Please help us. Like, it's not too late to change your mind on this. It's not too late. You can do the right thing. We just said a prayer. You asked to help us, help individual with their rights. That's us. We need your help. Please change your mind on this. It's not gonna provide the money that it's gonna cost us. It's not equal. And I just am begging you. I'm begging you to help us.
Thank you for your comments, and just so you know, it's not a done deal.
It feels like it.
It's not.
It feels like it.
And I said, we as a council have not even discussed it.
I know you can help us. I know you can. I just beg you.
Thank you.
Cowley, 10031 South, 16300 West, Payson. It only takes one stray bullet. I have 4 boys that grew up in West Mountain. It only takes one stray bullet to kill someone. And we're talking hundreds and thousands of bullets going everywhere. One stray bullet. What do I do with my sons? We can't go outside in our own house? Just one, is it really worth even the life of one person? Also, the CMP in Talladega, it's flat terrain. It's flat. This is mountain, the echoing coming off the mountain. If all of you can agree that I can record the sounds of those echoes of thousands and hundreds of guns going off throughout the day and play in your front yard, Wednesday through Sunday, 9 to 5, if you can agree to that, then I'll say no. No one wants to hear that all day long. I'm sure we can find other places for it. You just pretend it's you and it's your kids and it's your grandkids that are within firing range of that many bullets. It's scary. It's scary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Bill.
Hi, good evening, council. My name is Bill Elric. I'm the president of the Payson Scottish Festival, which just happened at the weekend. And there are 4 other members of the board with us tonight. So we had our board festival wrap-up meeting last night. It was a tremendously successful festival, extremely hot. Less people there than last year, but we expected less people than we saw. So it was successful. Just some notes. We had, as we always have, we had EMTs there. They dealt with 1 bee sting allergy and a tripping accident on the south side of 300 South. We did have some cars towed due to misunderstandings. And we need to work with Chief Bishop for timing on the Main Street closure more closely next year. The vendors were happy, the clients were happy. We had a lot of happy people that attended. We actually had, in the athletics, we had a world record sheaf toss. And if you've any idea what that means, it means they pick up with a pitchfork. They pick up a huge bale of hay and toss it up and over a high wire. So the little town of Payson has a world record, still to be ratified, but something that doesn't happen very often. Library Square was a challenge, not having it, but we worked around it. We had a shorter parade this year because of the construction, but we're thinking, last night we discussed it, and we're thinking we may keep that length of parade for next year and for years to come, because it is, because of the heat particularly, it's more comfortable for a lot of people, and most of the public start to congregate right, where we were starting. we had one very obvious person missing.
Yes. Sorry.
Mayor Wright was supposed to be our chieftain this year, but he was traveling and didn't make it back. And Representative Doug Welton stepped in on his place.
Sure did a great job.
He did. We would invite you to be the chieftain again
I will
next
be
year.
there.
That's all my notes. Any questions?
Any idea how many people did come this year?
I wish we could, because of we don't have a gate. We don't charge. It's one of now 2 free Scottish festivals in the Western United States. So because of the fact we don't have a gate, we really can't estimate how many people come, but we know it's in the thousands every year.
I know it's starting to rival at least the parade day that we have during our celebration. And the only way I can gauge that is usually we don't have anybody parked in front of our house for about a block to the west. Talking to my sister and other family members. Very tight parking around.
Yeah, we know parking is an issue, but
What's that?
I said the Main Street closure didn't help.
No, I didn't, but the last 2 or 3 years.
the parking is an issue, but I think, it's way offset by the fact that it is a free festival. And people come from all over, as far north as Logan, as far south as Cedar City and St. George. So we feel it was a success, and we thank the council for the support.
Been going since 1980.
1984, this was our 40th annual festival.
It's a good time to get good jobs. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bill, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
My name is Marilyn Hallowell. I live also in West Mountain, 8939 South, 6200 West. A few of us are here to hope that, as you said, that hasn't been decided for sure about that proposed gun range. And we hope and pray that you will decide to, if you have to have one, to move it to a different area, way farther away from our homes, as we have children and grandchildren there, and bus routes that go past there, and the traffic would be really, really dangerous for all of us. And so I'm happy to hear that it's not decided, and I appreciate that so much. We appreciate your working so much with us in West Mountain. We love our West Mountain, and we love our Payson area. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Parley Hallowell. Same address as my wife, 89 South 200 West in Payson. And of course, I'm here then to discuss, the things going up there on the mountain. And I appreciate everything that you guys do when you have to go through. I spent 8 years as a Utah State Senator. And so I know kind of where you go through and try to make everybody happy on this side and that side. And all of the things that go on. But we live up there. I'm retired, and I spend a lot of time outside and working in my garden. I spend 8 to 10 hours a day in my garden, and I can hear the gunshots that go up. Even though I have a cochlear implant in this ear, and I have a hearing aid in this ear, and my wife is always saying, "I wish those dogs would quit barking." Because we have a house below us that has 5 or 6 dogs. They raise dogs, and they're always barking, and I can't hear them. but I can hear the gunshots going on up there, even with this hearing. I can't imagine what it would be like if I didn't have the hearing problem. I don't know what other people hear, but the things that I can't hear. But I think it has been discussed, other places to put it. As this mentioned, another expensive home, we sold everything we had to be able to come and live up there and have the 5 acres to be out in the country there. And we appreciate your efforts and things that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tamara Stanton. I live at 6088 West, 10,000 South, Payson, West Mountain. And I have lived in West Mountain for over 33 years. I'm a fruit farmer. I am a foster mother of 2 adults who have hypercusis, who have sensitivity to sound. I take those children on walks up the mountain quite often, and they enjoy being in their West Mountain home. I don't believe that they could handle the noise of the gunshots any more than the rest of us can handle it, but it would be difficult for them because of what they suffer with. Part of my response to the gun range is that I took my children on a hike up to West Mountain when we first moved there. I have pictures of it, and I've been hiking and walking up it ever since. I love the mountain. I love the beauty of it, and I really hate to see a mountain, which is a non-renewable resource, gouged out and destroyed for a commercial enterprise that can be placed somewhere else. I believe that the mountain is beautiful in its own respect. If you go and you hike it and you walk it, you will see the sagebrush and the little animals and the flowers and the gullies, and you will fall in love with everything that is there. I ask you to reconsider your support at the gun range and to place it away from homes. Recently in December, my son, who has lived on the mountain all of his life and loves West Mountain with all of his heart, purchased land, which is right at the end of the target. His initial joy and happiness at saving and working towards that goal has been diminished, and he has fear of what's going to happen now. He has 2 little children, and I don't believe that a mile-long gun shooting range right there that will end right where they live will be safe for them. Now you can say, well, we can work to mitigate concerns, but you can't ensure, you can't totally control. You can make concessions, you can work to make it better, sound-wise, safety-wise, but you cannot control. Just like Gloria said, 1 stray bullet, and then a life is ended. And that is not worth it to have a gun range where homes are. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Wendy Little, and I am 67 years old. I was born and raised on West Mountain. My father came to West Mountain and when he's going to BYU and bought 300 acres out there, and eventually has sold a lot of it off, but he sold a lot of it off. But Sorensen's that have the orchard just, oh, let me tell you where I live, 6222 West, 10,000 South. And Sorensen's had their orchard right next to us, and our land goes right up to the BLM ground. And we, for 46 years, have been teaching English riding lessons and 4-H, horse lessons. And my daughter has done that, and we have taught hundreds of children to ride horses. And we have done trail rides up there on West Mountain. We love it. And I received a couple letters from mothers where their kids have taken lessons from this program. It's called Valley View Equestrian. You can look it up and you can see what that program is. One daughter, this daughter of hers, she wrote me a letter. She said this daughter would probably be dead if it wasn't for this horse program. She tried to commit suicide, and the horses and this program and our daughter Kate saved her life. And during COVID, there were tons of kids out there because they couldn't go to school. They were frightened, they were worried, and they came out and spent time with those horses, and that was their salvation. The other mother had a daughter that's had brain injury she had 2 brain surgeries at University of Utah, and she loved horses, and she found Kate's program and she came out, and that little girl, it saved her life. Those horses were her therapy. She loves them, and you cannot tell me that those horses are not affected by gun shooting, because they are. If they spook, these kids can fall off, they can get hurt, and we do everything we can to keep them safe. But gun shooting is not a thing that makes horses calm. It scares them, and it will completely stop this program. And I don't believe that, I think we need to be investing in children and kids that are struggling today with so much in their lives. And I think this program would have to be shut down, because what do? How can you mitigate hundreds of children's lives that you have touched and helped? I think that takes precedence over this gun range. And I don't know how you can, they take today, 2 sets of kids took trail rides up there, and they're younger kids, and they came back loving it. So I'm sorry, but the other thing real quick is that we want to sell about 14 acres at the very top where the BLM ground comes onto. Who's going to move there? Who's going to want to buy our land, which is our retirement? Who's going to want to go up there, buy that, and live right next to it? I don't know. Would any of you guys want to do that? No. I have a neighbor that lives 2 miles north on the way to Payson, and she hears the shooting that goes up there. So I think we need to be, very considerate of what that mountain means and what it's producing right now for this community. And I'm grateful for you guys to listen, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, not seeing anyone else coming up. Is there anybody online? Okay, thank you for your comments. This is how the government is supposed to work. We appreciate you coming here and talking with us. We're going to close the public forum and move on to staff reports. And staff would like to address us. You walked in just at the right time. You want to address us?
Staff reports.
Yeah, staff report. Okay, doesn't look like we have any staff reports. Okay, we'll move on to council reports, starting with Council Christensen.
Well, I will have to concur that Scottish Festival was very hot, but it was a great experience. There's a lot going on, and it was a lot of fun to see all of that and to hear the bagpipes and that opportunity to gather together as a community to honor the Scottish heritage. It was great. I know there were a few problems, road closures, roads open that shouldn't have been, needing to be this and that. And I hope that most of that was due to the fact that we were kind of strapped first phase with so much construction going on down there. I hope that with the new revamping of Main Street, that you'll reconsider that little bit longer walk. It might be worth it to be able to walk up that new corridor and see all that's been done there. So I'll put a pin in that until next year and then decide, but yes, Library Square would be definitely an issue. That big chunk of ground with that fresh grass on there being gone was beautiful. Yeah, it's nice to have it back and ready to use again, but thank you, for our police force and all that they do. Thanks.
Brian?
I just got one thing. There's a ribbon cutting for Jones Pane Glass on the 800 South, and it went really well. Just like to welcome them to our community. They're going to be a great asset for our community.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm so grateful to the West Mountain residents that have come and voiced your opinion. Just know that this does not fall upon deaf ears. I attended the BLM open house meeting and I share any of your concerns. So thank you. Just know this process is still a long ways out. So we're working on that. And I'm thankful that the BLM and CMP came down to share their vision as well. And we're going to see what it would take to adjust that if I had my way. I'm thankful for those that helped out with the Scottish Festival. That was a great festivity. It's town celebrations like that as we grow is going to maintain our community culture and bonds and relationships. So thank you for the time and energy the volunteers put into that. That's so neat to see. And along with Councilor Christensen, I hope next year, I'd love to even see, I want to plant the seed, maybe even close down our brand new section of Main Street, turn that into a walking district for the day, showcase that, put vendors down there, do the bagpipes through the Main Street area. So I'd hope to utilize that more, and hopefully we can facilitate more parking and more traffic, because it was elbow to elbow in that part, which was neat to see, but it was really, really hot. Myself and Councilor Hyatt and Moss attended the Fireman's Barbecue. So thankful to have such great first responders in our community, many who are volunteers that risk their lives and spend time away from their families to protect us. So thank you to our first responders, but particularly our fire department that showed us a good time. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna take my turn. I will explain why I missed, and Bill knows this. I had actually 4 or 5 things I should have been to that weekend. Don't Fake Glass was one of them. Family wedding was another one. Fireman's dinner, barbecue was another one. And Scottish Festival was another one. And I wish I could clone myself and attend more than what I was able to. But the one I did attend, I think many of you are aware of Casey Field, and a 6-time world champion bareback rider. He was inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We had an opportunity to support him, and I felt it was a good opportunity to go out and support Casey. So that's where I was. And next year. So we want to honor Casey. He grew up in Elbridge. We count him as one of our presidents because he went to all of our schools and graduated from Payson High School. So that's next one. That Bill. Thank you.
Here, West Mountain residents, I hear you as well. I haven't heard one positive voice from out there for this gun range, and I'm hearing you as well. And none of us are against the Second Amendment. I've been shooting up there too. So it's not up to us right now, but we're listening. Yesterday morning, bright and early at 7 in the morning, we had a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, our monthly meeting, and we went over, we talked about Main Street and we talked about economic goings on in our town, and the Chamber of Commerce is really working hard to support local businesses and kids as well, and they're really a valuable part of our community. I'm sad to see that Diane didn't show up. She said she was going to, so she's okay. Scottish Festival, I loved it. It was so fun and it was so hot, but it was so fun. I would like to see more booths if we could possibly get more booths. We have room. We have with those brand new cement walkways, we have a lot of room, so I would like to see a lot more if possible. Yes,
We had 48 vendors and I think 38 plans.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So I love all the bagpipes, just hearing the bagpipes in the background going constantly. There's just something about that. So keep up the good work. That was awesome. And then the fireman's dinner, as Ryan mentioned, best steak I've had in a long time. It was so good. So I look forward to next year's, and thanks for all the first responders. They're amazing. And that's all I've got.
See, I just get a ditto everybody, because it was supposed to be my turn first. I was last time. That's okay, it's just gonna, next time I probably won't have anything to say. So I'm just gonna ditto everybody, I live out in West Mountain, and I agree. I have a hard time with it. If they wanna move it, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, when you're sitting there talking, it's like, my heart is like, I know what you're feeling. I don't hear it. I don't hear the guns. I hear the motorcycles. You will. I hear the motorcycles, but I don't hear the guns, which is really odd. But, no, West Mountain is a special place. It really is. I've been out there for 44 years. So, no, I do understand what you're talking about. And that steak, oh my heck, who ordered those? Seriously. I need to know where they got those from. That was the best steak I have ever had. I know you guys are like, we just don't get to eat that well very often. And just, you did, and Scottish, oh my God, my grandkids love that. We went to the place where they made the little bracelets. And my little grandson, he's 7, he was just sitting there, just banging on that. And the guy got done and he put it on his hand, and my grandson handed him $10. And he goes, oh no, he says, it's free. He goes, this is your tip. He says, because my dad has one and I wanted one just like his. So I just, like, the guy just stood there, he didn't know what to do, and he says, well, thank you so much. And he goes, no, thank you. You know, but it's just little things like that, you know, and seeing little kids do that kind of stuff. They were over there just banging on that, and I just thought, what a cute little thing to have there for young kids, you know. So yeah, thank you. It was very nice. I went there several times throughout the couple days, so I appreciate that. And Doug, you did awesome.
Hey, don't take over my.
He just didn't have the hat or the boots.
Trey,
But you
nobody
looked
can
good.
take away the cowboy and kilts.
Yeah.
That's your gig.
No, but he did look good. That's it.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to G, action items, public hearings / ordinance updates.
You already asked that.
Oh, yes, that probably came up.
Okay.
Well, are you coming up, Travis?
Yes, sir.
You're coming up late.
No, not for.
He's in charge of the wastewater
Oh, okay, good. I'll read this then. Public hearing / ordinance updates to the impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analyst for wastewater collection systems. Travis, go ahead.
So Mayor and Council, we had to update these because we finally obviously got the exact cost of the sewer treatment plant. And when we did the original one, we obviously were doing an engineer's estimate. So to capture all that we need to with, new development, helping to pay for that. That's why I updated these. So if you have questions, ask, but hopefully this will be pretty quick. Like I said, that's why I went through it. And then here's kind of what the exact costs are going, like on the left is obviously what our current impact fee is based on the water meter size, because obviously we don't have meters on them. On the right is what they're gonna go up to, so that we obviously can help pay for that because 54% of the treatment plant is impact fee eligible. Which obviously you can see at 44+ million, that's a lot of money, so. That's kind of the reason I'm bringing this before you, is so that we can obviously get the right number in there, now that we know what it is, so. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Pretty straightforward. That's what we gotta have to support the bond.
I have a couple of questions for you, Travis. One is that this said it's looked at a 10-year growth period for Payson. And I looked at a map and it didn't look like they covered where the new interchange is gonna be or where the Benjamin exit is. And in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm concerned about it, that that's not included in that.
Yeah, what we're gonna have to do is, not in this budget, we're obviously just started, but we're going to request, Robert and I have talked about, we already really need to update all our master plans, the general plan again and all that. So I think next year we'll do that, and then we'll probably update this again. With all the growth we have, this is probably all our impact fees probably need to be updated at least every 2 years, if not every year. So, yeah, that will probably change based on some of that pattern, but this one, I updated it. I left everything alone that we had previously updated except for the sewer costs.
And how does it work for Elk Ridge? Do they adopt the same thing and send us the impact fee? Because it's our impact.
Yeah, just like what we do with Salem out there on Arrowhead, whatever their impact fee is, we have to charge any new homes in that service area, and then we do the same with Elk Ridge.
Okay, thank you.
The last time that our impact fees were adjusted for wastewater.
Just last year.
Just last year.
Like I said, it was based on an estimate, which was the best we had, and then once we got the guaranteed maximum price, that's why I updated.
That was no low estimate, those are big jumps, aren't they?
Yes.
The original estimate was $15 million for wastewater.
It was higher than that.
I thought it was 25 million.
That was 7 years ago when they put it on hold for a little while.
It was 25 million.
Was it 25? Okay, 25. I'm sorry.
Council, if there's not any further discussion, if there is, please let me know, but I'm ready for a motion. Oh, I gotta go to a public, hearing. Okay, I'm, ready to do a public hearing. I'll have a motion to, accept the motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Please, those that would like to address us, step to the mic and say your name and let us know where you live, and please be cognizant of the time and whether you agree or disagree with the comments we've staff and some of the questions with our city council. Not seeing anyone wanting to take advantage of that here in the audience. Is there anybody online? Okay. Accept the motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, a motion that we close the public hearing for the updates to the impact fee facilities plan and impact fee for the wastewater collection system.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Yes.
Aye.
Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Any further council discussion?
Just in regards to impact fees, I know we do need to raise them. We need to be smart and financially stable run city. But I think it's a slippery slope to do the impact fees every single year because we're paying so much money to these outside firms to look at them and readjust them. And then I think we feel like we need to raise them every year just because we spent the money to have the analysis. So I don't think we should adjust them any more than often than every 2 years and don't go any longer than 5. That's just my,
One thing I would interject there is the home builder association is encouraging us to do it.
And I actually updated these, so this didn't cost you anything other than my time.
excellent. Now we did it in-house. Thank you, Travis. Look at these numbers. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I think every year is too often.
But it had been a while before last year when we updated it. So we don't do it every year. It had been a while since we had updated anything. And so then when they started looking into it, and it was just like, whoa, we are so going backwards.
Yeah, we do need to do it more often so we don't have such huge increases, but I think we should get on every other year rotation.
I think we could do August every 2 years.
One thing I look at is just what's going on, like, what we have to, we know what growth's coming, if costs have gone way up, so maybe sometimes if there's no inflation, you might go 3 years and we aren't growing very fast, but other times it might be every year because we have to do a sewer plant that went up $50 million, so it's just gonna depend on what the circumstances are tonight.
Yeah, basically what will drive this is if we have enough growth that there's a CIP project that needs to be done. So in order to charge impact fees, you have to have the projects in your master plan and then update them in your, your impact fee report. So if we get a big enough project that we need to include that, that's what will drive the timing. So that could be every year, it could be every 3 years, could be every 5. It just really depends on those projects.
So what is a normal house? Is that a 1 inch?
Yes.
And what do we use 2 inch on? Big house or?
Usually
commercial?
more commercial or industrial.
Okay, council, are you ready? I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the updates to the impact fee facility plan and impact fee analysis for wastewater collection system.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion, seconded, roll call vote, so Council Hyatt,
Reluctantly, yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Hewitt,
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance, a request to apply the IO infill overlay at approximately 2 to allow for a 9-block single-family home subdivision. This is down in the hall. By Jay, right?
Across from Jay.
Across.
So yeah, approximately 287 east, 700 south. And this will show you now, zooming in. So that field lot area there. You can see the ball fields, the swimming pool, that area. So the reason for the overlay is they are proposing to put in lots smaller than the 9,000 square foot lots that are permissible within that zone. And then also the lot frontages are going to be reduced from what's required within that zone.
Michael, for reference, can you remind me what size lot that would be?
What size of lot? About a 1/5 acre. So the applicant is pointing out that their overall density will still be 9,000 square feet when they include their open space and amenities. So just pointing that out for you. So this is the proposed subdivision. You can see this is the open space amenity section area here. There will be one lot that fronts on 700. All the other ones will front internally on this new road that they would be proposing. Each of the lots range from 7,000 to 8,275 square feet. And the frontages range from about 70 feet of frontage to, I think it's 82 feet, something to that effect. And like I said, each of the average lot size, when you include the open space, is over 9,000 square feet.
How much open space are they gonna have?
I think, I did not put that on here, but I think it's 13,000 square feet.
So why is there open space? Is it required for this type of?
Oh, there it is, 13.5. Why? Well, this area is sloped a little bit right here. They could have potentially put another lot in here, but they felt as if it was more appropriate to use it as space for amenity space for the subdivision. They could have made all of the lots a little bit bigger if they divided that up, but that was something that they were preferring to do. It was something to that effect.
And this the applicant with the open space looks like, pickleball courts and other things. Is this an HOA would be exclusive to this community or is it a?
Yes, exclusive to this community.
Okay.
This is just a sample of kind of the court that they would put in, some of the different amenities, swing set system, some other little play toys, park benches, things like that. So staff recommends approval for this, and we've got some findings here if you want to reference those as possibilities in a motion. But any other questions that you have on this?
And these will be like standalone, single family.
Correct.
Residence homes.
Council, staff presentation, and is there any more discussion that you'd like to have?
Let's have a couple of comments. They're really close to parks and swimming pools and ballparks, and I'd rather personally, I'll go along with this because staff recommends it, but I'd rather personally have the lots be bigger lots and not have an HOA and have this little teeny playground area. That's my opinion.
So Brian, the struggle with that is that there's a big grade drop down into it.
Have you come up?
Or I'll just, so the struggle with that, from what I've been told from staff, is that there's a big grade drop.
There you go. You got to say it, John.
There's always retaining walls, so.
Okay, anything further?
Do they have a plan on who the builder is going to be?
I do believe they're internal. The applicant is going to do it with his company that he works for.
Have they submitted any plans as far as the house plan or something like that?
Yeah.
Can we go back one slide? Make 2 slides. This one, I don't like the T in that public roadway. Is it a topography issue to go that way? Can we take lot 4 and move it over next to lot 3 and move that road in there so that it's one continuous curve?
Are you saying to make to move the road
Forward,
basically to come here?
Between 5 and 4.
I think that might be part of the topography where the road might actually, this is much more flatter here. But
I think
that could potentially be a possibility to explore, I suppose.
I just know that T in the end there, we're gonna get people parking there. We're gonna have problems coming back to us.
So the main reason for this configuration is to provide a fire access turnaround without a big bolt cul-de-sac. And then the road, it kind of lines up with J Lane across the street where it's at, where if we moved it over one lot, it would be offset and create more of a hazard, especially where you're coming down the hill on 700 South.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a visibility thing already. Yeah, and so you can see that kind of black line that kind of runs up there. Yeah, so that is a pretty significant retaining wall that they are gonna have to build to facilitate, the path going up to that play area. So they have taken grades and everything into account. It's just in order to put another house there or increase the lot sizes, it would be, that retaining wall would be enormous and,
More hazard.
more
Right
hazard,
there, right?
yeah.
Okay, no, and that's when I'm looking at it on a flat piece of paper and
No.
trying to visualize it in that vacant lot that's been there forever. I think there's semi trucks or something parked in there right now,
good question.
right? And I'm just trying to
Yeah.
familiarize myself with it. So that's a good answer. I like that. I don't love the little tiny lots. I feel like we're getting a lot of little lots, but I can concede that it's moving forward. But
It's
Staff.
just single family houses. I would rather have
Yeah.
smaller lots than single family. That's forever.
I just don't want single family homes that if you attach them, they would be townhomes.
Do you know if it's gonna be exclusive? Because I think they have PI to every lot and it's a public road. I don't know why they would need an HOA and
It's
exclusivity.
just HOA for the amenity.
Okay, council, you good, ready for a motion?
What does planning commission say? Are you unanimous or no?
Planning commission gave a favorable recommendation on this.
Unanimous.
I don't remember if it was unanimous, but I believe it was.
Commissioner Features here. Okay.
It was.
Unanimous, okay, thanks.
Okay, just one other comment, talking about the lot sizes. These lot sizes are the norm in this area. If they were 9,000 square foot, that would be a quite large lot in this vicinity.
Trade lane across the street, is smaller.
So what kind of square footage
So for
Of a
example,
house.
this one right here, oh, you're saying square footage of a
of
house?
the house?
Well, I believe this dotted line around here is the building footprint that they could potentially
That's what it
do,
looks like.
meeting the setbacks. So they could have quite large homes on there if that's what they wanted to do.
Don't want to rush it too quick, but are you ready? All right, Mr. Lord.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the request to apply infill overlay at approximately 287 East 700 South to allow for 9 single-family home subdivision in Bell Hollow with reduced lot sizes.
May I make one comment?
Yes,
They would also need to have some reduced frontages as well.
with reduced lot sizes and reduced frontage.
You want to put findings in there also?
Are you good with that? Motion?
Findings.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion been seconded, roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Hewitt,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Wyatt.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, number 3, ordinance request to apply the RMO-1 two-family residential overlay at approximately 643 west, 400 north to allow duplex and twin homes, Sunrise Street duplex.
Again, here's a map to help orient you. So west of the freeway here, and then this is 400 north right there, and it would be in this parcel right here.
Are they removing buildings too?
Yes, they would remove buildings to do it.
Are the townhomes already there?
There's townhomes, so let me go back. So right here are some townhomes, right here are some townhomes. This is the parking for those townhomes. I think there's some more townhomes over here somewhere. There's also up here, Eversage and I believe a trailer park up there. So there is a multi-family housing in the vicinity there.
Conform to the existing.
Is this right after you go under?
Yes, this is I-15 right here.
I was just trying to see it in my head.
Like I say, it conforms to the existing neighborhood, it's not out of the norm.
Right.
It matches our master plan as well.
It does. And here's some sample product of the duplex homes that they would be doing. It will be duplexes. The agenda states duplexes or twin homes. That's just because that's what the RMO allows for. But the applicant is requesting to do it as duplexes, and it will be all in a single ownership. And this is a layout of how they will do that on that property there.
So they're gonna maintain ownership.
They maintain ownership of each unit, yes.
Who is the applicant?
His name is Kate Patton. He is here in the audience if you want to ask any questions.
So why maintain ownership? Why not sell them?
Come on up, Kate. We'll need you to come on up.
before?
Sometimes.
Just state.
My name is Cade Patton, and I would be the owner, I guess, but the reason for keeping it, I guess, in a single ownership, first off would be to not have a bunch of different owners and people that would maintain their own properties and not a great way, I guess. That way I would be allowed to, or able to maintain the property that's there better, make it more appealing for the neighborhood, I guess. That way, it's just maintain better is the main thing, but also, I guess that's kind of the main thing is that it would be just maintained by one person.
Long-term rental income, 20 to 30 years retained by him. I'm father, that's my son.
Well, the fact that one person's taking care of a lot of stuff, that's not, that pleases me because we know that.
Yes, there's just already so many rentals in that area. Or that thing that, just proximity to I-15 hours. I was hoping with this nice of a unit that, so.
Are you concerned about the railroad tracks right there?
I haven't put a ton of thought into it. The reason being is I believe I-15 is gonna be expanded from what I've been told, so I don't know if the railroad tracks really have much to do with anything other than the freeway expanding. So I guess I haven't told myself the railroad tracks.
Because from what I understand, there's a chance that front on it go more south, not be right where they go.
I don't know if it matters for anybody, but I would be putting a fence in along the, whatever side that is, that area by the freeway, just to kind of help with looks and whatever I can do with sound, even though that's probably not possible, but I would do what I can to stop the sound and make it look a little better.
What does planning commission say about this one?
Planning commission was favorable on this as well. They felt as if it was conducive to the area. They felt as if it's a difficult parcel to work with because of the shape and its size. You really couldn't put a lot of things in there. And so Mr. Patton's come up with a means in which he can put several homes in there and also have the, you can see, for example, the ability to have the fire trucks turn around in there. He's gonna have it common space that will be maintained by himself. So planning commission was accepting of those items.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request to apply the RMO 1 to two-family residential overlay at approximately 643 west, 400 north to allow duplexes at twin homes.
Second.
I'll second. Teresa can have it.
Okay, just a second. Okay, I have a motion and second, roll call starting with Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Vila.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
No.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Wright. Motion carries, thank you. Going on to number 4, ordinance request to apply S-1 special highway service zoning designation to 67 west, 1130 north to allow a fuel station and convenience store. This Maverick. Michael?
So this is an artist depiction of what the Maverick store would potentially look like on the site if this is approved for the zone change. Give you some orientation of the area. So this is Main Street here, just under the underpass there. And this is the new WICP buildings going in here, and so the request is
Bowling
for
alley, correct?
the bowling alley is right here, yeah.
They are aware that the, eventually that interchange will be reconfigured at this stage.
They are aware of that, yes.
And with,
So was it, sorry, would you have your little pointer?
Yes, so if you,
Oh, that's what-
yeah, so if you drive Main Street here, there's that new cul-de-sac that goes into the warehouses for the WICP. It's right there on that corner, so.
and are they wanting to wait till the interchange happens, or they had an indication?
No, they would like to move ahead, with this zone change, they'd like to move ahead immediately.
Excellent.
The request is to only do a portion of that lot, so it would be approximately 3.93 acres. And thereby, we would need to do a boundary line adjustment to adjust the lot, which currently goes to about right here. It would move over, and then the lot behind it would be larger. Maverick only needs that 3.93 acres, and so that is what this request is for. It would be Maverick. Well, yes, Maverick would become the owner, but currently it's WICP. Mark Weldon. Yeah.
And he's selling it to Maverick.
I'm excited to see some things go on this end of town and pave the way for what can be out there.
So when does the boundary line adjustment have to be done?
They would have to do it before they do any kind of development on there. Before their building permit, yeah. So, but they can do that while they submit their building permit applications. It's just, or their site plan process, either one of those.
You know, if people go Santa Quinn to their Maverick.
Sean could walk right across the street to get jalapeno poppers.
I'm excited for ethanol-free gas in Payson.
Yes.
That's, we don't have it here. It's, you have to go to Maverick or to the Chevron and Salem. It's the only two places. Anyway, I'm in favor, so let's vote on this.
Oh, you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready, I'm ready.
It's gonna
Actually,
make that,
council,
that
can I
off
just,
ramp.
before you make a motion,
Mention.
if the motion is to approve this, just make sure that it's for the portion of the parcel, not the entire parcel. Okay,
And with findings, right?
well, you can, when you're doing findings, staff has provided findings for the motion that we have recommended.
Okay.
If you are making a different motion contrary to the one that staff has recommended, then you need to state specific findings. But in your motion, you can say, according to the findings as listed in the staff.
So I do have one comment, and I'm all for this, but Mark Weldon talked to me a couple of days ago, and he just wants to make sure that we try to make sure there's really good landscaping with Maverick, because he's got his buildings behind that, so he just wants to have a really nice Maverick.
And I think Maverick's done a
I
good
think
job.
that's their desire as well.
Well, and also this would be changing to the S1 zone, which would require 25% of the site to be landscaped, so.
So I think about the Maverick and Santa Quinn and how busy that one is. And I know that, it would help Payson, but I'm also concerned about the congestion that it causes. How much more traffic will bring on that.
When is
That's just a weird,
when is the new interchange?
Light.
Happen? Any ideas?
Well, the one that, if I can jump in there, the one that is planned to the north of there, there, as I understand it, they come to an agreement with DOT and church, and the traffic commission is $100,000. So it'll take 18 months for the 18 months to 24 months to do the engineering for the new interchange. That will be the first phase, and then either the second or third phase would be doing that. Okay, so that potentially, you know, it could be
300 years.
Hold on. Potentially, probably won't happen for 10 years.
And Robert wanted me to reconfirm with you, this is not any kind of site plan approval. This is just approval for the zone change. the site plan approval process, they would still have to do with staff.
Which would address traffic and flow and all of this.
And I would just put a plug, and hopefully you guys can put a plug to the map if you let this passes. Sometimes people think, oh, we're coming to Payson, we're gonna build it small. Please encourage them to build it big as the other ones, if not bigger, because this area is gonna grow. It'll just be so much better if they just. build it right the first time.
Does Maverick still own the Flying J property as well?
Is Jill here?
Okay.
Jill, do you want to, Jill is with Maverick, so
Oh, excellent.
she can maybe answer a couple of those questions.
Thank you for being here, Joe.
But we have also met with UDOT already. UDOT has approved their access onto Main Street. They've done the rail, I don't remember what the term is that they call it, but the railroad people have signed off on it as well, so I mean, they're ready to do this. I've seen the plan set already, it looks great, like, yeah.
Jill
I'll let Jill finish
Jonathan,
up.
do we have plans to make the road wider right there? Is it already wide enough to do a turning lane? I just don't want to run into another McDonald's situation, right, where you can't get into McDonald's. So what are the plans as far as the width of the road?
It will widen out. It will widen out to whatever WICT did. It'll match that, which has a center turn lane in it.
This, you have the plans for the.
It is big, it's one of our biggest stores, so we'll have, she'll ask, I represent that, right? And they actually. So we have, they will have commercial lanes for, commercial traffic, and they have their own separate lanes. Four lanes, and then for, regular feeling areas, it has 7. So, you know, the service. Right? Actually, there being a lot of backups. But yeah, we've already hired our.
They also have an RV dump, which will be nice. And I think Joe Gibb, who couldn't make it tonight, she told me that this is one of the largest of these, this one, the normal fueling setup it's one of the largest ones that they have. With the 7-4 pump, 1 or 2 side.
Right.
It's very similar to the Santa Fe one, right? It almost seems like the exact same plan.
Yeah, and we have it designed so that we keep the truck traffic away.
Council here, I pulled up the site plan. I don't know how well you can see it, but I can zoom in on that if you like.
So the portion we build out, approximately how big would that area be with the asphalt and everything?
The entirety of the lot is just under 4 acres.
How much was built out with this? Half of it?
You are 71.2% total impervious. So 2.8 acres between building and asphalt. You have almost a full acre of landscaping, which is the 25%.
Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the S1 Special Highway Service zoning designation at 67 West, 1130 North to allow a fuel station and convenience store for Maverick and not to exceed the 3.93 acres specified by staff for that zone change. And approve, do we need to approve the property line adjustment or anything like that? Or that, okay?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion seconded, roll call vote, starting with council.
Yes.
Right, Council Moss. Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Hewlett.
Yes.
And Council Christensen.
Yes.
Number 5,
Thank you for being
resolution.
here tonight.
Thank you, Joe, appreciate you. Resolution, Provo River Project Electric Service Agreement, Sean.
This is just a contract with the government, with WAPA, which is the Western Area Power Authority, that's under the Department of Energy. And, we just renew this every 25 years or so, every 30 years, with getting power from, they administer for the Colorado River Storage Project, as well as for, all the other things that are going on in the west. And what this does is gives us access to power that comes from the Deer Creek Dam. We have almost 5% allocation of that. And it usually only comes to us during the summer months, which is great and it's very low cost. And so this is just re-upping our contract with them for the next 30 years.
That's our green portfolio.
Yeah, as our green portfolio is cheap, that's what I like, so, and it's in the summer, so.
Especially after all the money you spent, right?
Yeah.
Any discussion, council? Pretty straightforward, I think.
Sean, would you please, you'll just give us a quick update on the power plant generators and if any of that's ordered, how it's coming and.
We've done the down payment, to Wheeler, so 10% down.
Okay.
Which has secured those. I have a very, close construction estimate on the natural gas, expansion or improvements that need to be made to the plant. So I've been talking with Enbridge, that's the company that bought Dominion. And it's coming in close to what we had estimated before. And it's kind of interesting because we have to, so with everything else going on with money, we may need to get funding first with bonding. Because we need to give them about $800,000 and they get to hold it for about a year till they do the improvements. Then they have 180 days to reconcile after the improvements are done to either give us money back or charge us a little more from what that costs. So have that started, almost have the engineering started on the substation. Yeah, we actually will probably move a lot more in the next couple weeks. I'll be able to give you a better update, but yeah, try to push it as fast as possible.
Thank you. I'll put you on the spot.
Oh, that's fine. I want to be put on the spot, so yeah, we'll keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, there are two resolutions in this, or two separate contracts. One is the WAPA, that's with the Western Area Power Authority. And the other one is with UAMPS and WAPA, because UAMPS is going to be the helper to deliver to us.
Yeah, just for scheduling, so we allow them to schedule. We do that with our Colorado River other stuff as well.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the Pearl River Project Electric Service Agreement with WAPA and UAMPS.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Roll call vote starting with Council Christian.
Yes.
Council Hewlett.
Yes.
Council Rowland.
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Hyde.
Yes.
Thank you. Going on to number 6, resolution real estate purchase contract addendum for building at 1374 West American Way. Payson.
Council and Mayor, as we've discussed over the last few weeks, we got offered a kind of bumped in our laps, really, opportunity for a new city center / police department. We've been haggling over the last few weeks over one, price, and two, due diligence period. Before you in your packet today is a resolution to approve that if you so choose. And to the terms, we haggled enough, I think it's either submit it to you if you have any questions.
Before we have any council discussion.
It's a tough one.
What's that?
This is a tough one.
It is a tough one. There's no two ways about it.
I guess my thought, if we do go down this road, we can't be scared to back out. It's just not feeling right.
Right.
There are two off ramps, as was discussed before, not tonight, but the first is financing. If we don't get the financing we need or want, then there's the first. Second is the appraisal. If the appraisal happens to come back less than is the offer or the price we go at, then we can back out if he refuses to offer it for that lower amount. But in the end, we could get it for lower if that happens. That's if that happens, I don't know.
So the way I look at this is, this gives us an opportunity to make to evaluate some things in the city. Gives us an opportunity to evaluate a newer building that will accommodate growth and the police department. And an opportunity to evaluate this building to see what the cost is and see if it makes sense to move to another building, because this is gonna cost a lot to maintain and for utilities and things like that. So this gives us 60 days to look at things and really evaluate and make a wise decision. And yeah, if it's not gonna work, then we have an opportunity to get out of it without cost us anything.
And the prevailing belief is we couldn't build one for the cost of the work.
That's what I was gonna say. I think we can afford not to pursue this as far as possible. We need more room. We need to upgrade everything in this. And you cannot build a new city building for this. And, I think this opportunity came at a good time and on purpose, and it's a good chance for us.
Okay, we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the real estate purchase contract addendum for the building at 1374 West American Way.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, roll call vote required, Council Hyatt,
No.
Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
No.
Council Hewlett,
Yes.
Council Richardson.
You guys put a lot of weight on me. I think we need the due diligence time, so I'm gonna say yes. The premise that we're actually gonna delve into it, look at it, and make sure it's really right for us.
And we'd like just doodles of updates in meetings about.
Myself and Dave will do that for you, yes.
I think more than just council meetings, we need to.
We'll keep you apprised of it through emails and stuff.
And when we get close to that due diligence deadline, we have another sit down and see what we found and see if it's going back out.
And that sounds
We
perfect.
need to be careful.
And we need to reiterate that none of us are making this decision lightly. This is a very serious decision, and those of us who voted yes and those of us who voted no, we're all thinking of the city, and we're all thinking of serious implications and serious future outcomes for this, so.
Not that it matters, but if I were a voting member, I was voting yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for the motion. It carries. Okay, going on to work session. Discussion, this discussion regarding MU-1 mixed use overlay designating Spring Creek landing at approximately 1025 west acres south. Hey, Michael.
So just to reiterate with mayor and council, there's no decisions being made for this. This is a work session, exploring ideas and getting input and feedback from the council for the applicant. This project has gone to planning commission and they voted for a positive recommendation for approval with some hesitancy, and they wanted to see some sort of a development agreement in place. And so that's more or less what this work session is to flesh out what council would like to see in some sort of a development agreement. If council doesn't feel as if this can work, then it doesn't make sense to do a development agreement, and therefore it may or may not make sense to even approve approve this as the zone change.
Planning Commission members, thanks for being here.
With that said, I'm going to turn the time over to the applicants to talk through it a little bit, to let you know. This is 800 South here. This is Payson Fruit Growers here. It is this vacant parcel. This is the old FARS building right there. So it's the vacant parcel back behind there. And that's what we'll be talking about.
To manage expectations, council, let me just jump in really quickly. This is a work session, not a public hearing. That has already occurred. You're welcome to hear and listen and things like that, but just to understand what this really is about is to understand the project, the parameters, and to get feedback not only from the applicant to you, but from you to us.
Hello, I am Wesley Zuko. I'm with the Ball Building and Development. So we presented this to Planning Commission. Our goal was to bring some mixed use to this property. It's currently in the S1 zone, so we're asking for the mixed use overlay. Our original design had two separate one building. We've gone through several design element changes as we've met with the neighbors as well as the city staff. We proposed to do two separate buildings. We were originally going to do commercial on the main floor of the first building, and the second building would be all residences. We went from a 4-story building with rooftop amenities down to a 3-story building with a pitched roof, no rooftop amenities. Some of the stuff that was brought up in Planning Commission was having us finish the concrete fence that goes around the perimeter of the property up front to provide a little bit more of a barrier for the neighborhood if the zone change is approved and the project moves forward. Another thing that was brought up with Planning Commission is they would like to see more commercial. So we went back to our civil engineer and had them alter the second building to be 50% commercial. So we went from 20,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet after listening to Planning Commission. Part of the reason we left the half of that second building main floor as condos is to meet ADA requirements so that we have residences on the ground level to meet the need of anyone who would require that being on the ground level. Another thing that was brought up was a better use of our green space. So code required a 10-foot green space around the edge where the residences are. Planning Commission suggested moving all green space that was at the perimeter of the building and possibly on the far side against the fruit growers where our covered parking would be, and shift it all to the residential sides to put a larger buffer in there, and then also create more space that would be usable by kids that want to go out there and throw a ball around or kick something. Is that the last one?
How big would that buffer be, the green space buffer?
So when we moved it all to one side, it was just under 29 feet. It became 28 point something on the, let's see, the south side where there's also residences. It went from being 10 feet. I sent the new image. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was between 14 and 18 feet is what it became from what it was before. We do have green space between the two buildings. We could shorten that up and just move all the green space to be completely around the residential side to make the biggest buffer as possible. They did talk about the stepping up. Some of the homes are ramblers in there, some are 2-story, and so it was discussed whether a 3-story would fit well. Planning Commission talked about reducing the number of doors on the site, so we have the 20,000 square feet of commercial. We were overparked by 3 stalls. We went with your strictest requirement on the commercial, which was 1 stall for every 200 square feet. We, on the new one concept that we made after Planning Commission, shifting things around and moving all the space, We reduced the number of doors to 68, 55, or from 68 down to 55 or 60. Part of that was giving up half of the main floor. Part of that is there was discussion that maybe a few more 3-door option or 3-bedroom options in there. Those are a housing type that might be needed in the area. We talked about the flow of the property. So the reason we put the buildings more to the center is to allow fire trucks access to go all the way around. We don't have to deal with hammerheads. Gives them access to all sides of the building rather than just 2 or possibly 3. We did have a traffic study done when we first started this project with staff, which was over 2 years ago. And after planning commission, we engaged the company that did our previous study. And I actually talked to them today. We'll have the new study tomorrow. Where it was 2 years old, everybody felt that we needed something that was more updated. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what, if anything, has changed. In the previous report, UDOT suggested that it would be fine that the main entrance exit was right in, right out. But to come into the property, they suggested using the shoulder that was wide enough to create a right-hand turn lane into the property. There would be 2 exits to the property, the second one being the exit that exists for the drive-through on what is now Jimmy John's, used to be Bar Ice Cream. That is not wide enough to make it 2 lanes, plus the drive-through is on the wrong side of the road for that to work. So it would just be a secondary exit. Up on that one side, we did propose putting all the covered parking as much as possible along the side that is the fruit growers. So that kind of pinkish red. There are a few that ended up over here so that we could make sure we gave everyone access to a covered stall that lived in there. By reducing the number of residences, we can actually probably get rid of the parking stalls that are on that side. So we took the 10-foot park strip from here and all this that wasn't sidewalk and moved it all to this side where the residences are. That's what created that almost 29-foot space. And then we took what was on this side and added it to here. So that was the space I was saying we could shrink up the green space and just move it all to be on this side, so that it creates that bigger buffer on the residential side.
So how many residential units?
So this original site design, the goal was to get 68 in there in the 20,000s of commercial. We changed to 30,000 of commercial on our latest concept, which this is not it. And reduce the number of residences from 68 to, it would be between 55 and 60. It just depends on how we end up doing the final design or what council feels we should do. So it was going to be a blend of 2 and 3 bedrooms. We don't have a specific count until we know what density is approved. It's hard to say exactly how the units are going to lay out in there. Our goal is to have 2 and 3 bedrooms, and if there's space that can't quite be used up, then possibly creating some 1 bedrooms.
And the only access in and out off 8 South.
Yes. The fruit growers go all along here, and then their land, I think they're expanding, but then this is residential and this is residential.
Have you talked to the fruit growers about putting a road and have the right of way through there?
That was brought up in our first planning commission, and then it got, project got tabled and we had a second planning commission. So the first one that was brought up, possibly creating a second egress that goes through here. But unless the fruit growers are willing to give up their land and change, I don't know if that's possible. And I haven't talked to them, but I remember one of the staff members, I think, saying that they were possibly submitting plans to expand. And so then that would create a road that goes through their operation, and I don't know if that's good. At rush hour times, it does talk about the effect it'll have in the previous report. We'll see what the new one says and how long it could take to get in and out of there during rush hour times in the morning and the afternoon. It talks about the number of cars that go up that, and 2 years ago when it was around 25,000. Then it talked at rush hour times all day long. And then it talked about our number of cars having less than a 1% impact on traffic. Obviously, at peak times and when everyone's trying to get in and out of there, it's gonna be noticeable.
Well, even just when cars was up in there.
The traffic report talks about, the stoplight creating gaps that allow for exit, but we need to see what the updated one says, because obviously a lot has changed with Payson in the last 2 years.
And would the plan be for all of these to be single owner, or would it be?
Great question. So our clients on the project haven't finalized what they're saying. They're talking about possibly keeping one building as a rental asset and then selling the rest. They've also talked about just selling the rest. They haven't really discussed keeping the whole thing as rentals. They do want to provide some more affordable housing in that price point. Is the goal that we've talked about over the last 2 years. They've also talked about just keeping some individual doors for themselves and potentially just the commercial space as rental and then selling all of the condos off to owners. If they do decide to keep one building or something, they would probably make it a single tax ID. The goal out here would be to allow FHA financing. So myself and one of my business partners, we're also realtors, he's a broker, and so we deal a lot with real estate. And to achieve FHA financing, we would have to form HOAs and restrict which units can be owner occupied, which ones can be rentals. For FHA to do that, 50% or 51% has to be owner occupied, and that is the goal of the project as a minimum.
On the commercial, would you condominiumize those, or would you keep all those and rent them?
Some would be sold, some would be kept as rental assets, but it would be planned as condominiumized and then just whatever individual is kept.
So on your ADA, do they have to be on the bottom floor or can it be an elevator?
So when we originally were gonna try to do a 4-story building, we were gonna do elevators because these buildings at one point were one building. We broke it for fire access and for safety. And to be able to phase the project, one for the city, 2 for the banks. Elevators are very expensive. If we were going to put that in, it makes it a lot more difficult, especially reducing the density because of the number of units that would split the cost. And where it is 2 buildings, then having to put in 2 sets. And I'd have to check with the length of these buildings if they're long enough that they're going to require 2 elevators, 1 on each end. In which case you're talking about 4. And that would significantly raise the cost of the project, which would then be reflected in the cost of the units that we sell.
I just know that when we went over this, what's it been, 4 or 5 years ago, we had decided we just wanted commercial in there. I mean, if you want to put apartment buildings, you need to keep them away from the houses so that you can't see in their backyards and see in their windows and stuff like that. That was a big concern. But another concern, we wanted it commercial because that is commercial. We don't have that much space for commercial. And so I realize you're trying to make money on your project, but we need a place that's commercial. So
and it is in your S1 zone, which is the only place that MU overlay is allowed. Straight commercial in there, it could end up anything. It could end up a motel, which is gonna feel like an apartment. It's a 24-hour.
So it would be
people
like,
come and go.
that's not, that wouldn't be.
Okay. I don't do specific, just commercial, so I haven't looked at what that would be. This is what our clients want to do with the property that they own, and so that's their goal with going with this, where the fruit growers are on the industrial or on the far side. Mixed use does provide a good blend of going from your residential to your industrial or commercial. Straight commercial, I don't know, I guess what businesses would be in there, but you could have stuff that's there late at night as well. It's still gonna have the same amount of parking and people going in and out. As a resident, one of the nice things about mixed use is some people work from home, and obviously some parents are working at home, taking care of their kids and raising them.
Mixed use is nice because it provides, most of the people leave during the day that live there and go to their jobs, and that's when the commercial comes in and fills. There's overlap in time of how that's gonna take place. In the evening, the majority of the commercial is gonna leave as the residences come home. And so it provides a good shift and switch, and a transition between residential and pure commercial or industrial.
Because, for me right now, I really have zero appetite to do high density residential right there. I feel like that's, that in a town, like it's been stated before by Councilor Hyde, we have to preserve and safeguard our commercial space that we have. And that's a very automotive heavy end of town. That's our biggest road. It's conducive for families. And yeah, I gotta disclose, I have ownership in Payson Fruit Growers. And I think about complaints, smells and trucks, and I have heartburn about that. But also I think that end right there, I just think it makes more sense to be commercial. And I think Payson City right now, I think we've hit our mark for a little while on the super high density. And I wanna hold back on that a little bit. So that's where I'm at right now. I'd love to see it commercial. I'd love you guys see it come up with something that makes money and helps us with sales tax and gets some good things down here. But for residential use, I have zero appetite for that right now.
Okay, thank you.
That's where I'm at.
It is the future. It's what Payson has planned as a future.
I know this mixed use, but I've been reading a lot about mixed use, and it hasn't done what they thought it was gonna do. And so a lot of areas throughout the United States are kind of going away from it now because it didn't provide with what they thought it was gonna do. Because people thought, oh, businesses are right here, we can go down, we can use businesses. People are still getting in their cars and driving 5 or 10 miles, so it's not working like they thought it was going to work.
So one huge hurdle that's happening with commercial and office space right now, where everyone became untethered during COVID and stepped away, there's a lot of office space that's staying empty and stuff right now. And so that's one of the reasons we like mixed use. We're planning to put our building or our offices in there. But we're also getting ready to do 2 mixed use buildings out in Bernal that we've gotten approved and are putting in their downtown area. And it works for them. I'm not saying just because it's there, it works here. But they're liking it because it brings the extra property taxes of the multifamily and higher density that benefits the schools and everything. But then it also brings them the potential for the sales tax by having both on the same site. It doesn't always work that way. I haven't done a specific study for where the commercial's at here and what need there is for just straight commercial. We did do a feasibility study on this that said the study felt it was the highest and best use for the land based on it being in the middle of residential and commercial and being able to transition between the two. But obviously the city of Payson gets to decide what's best for them.
I have a couple of questions for you. So I know you started at 4 floors and went to 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the concerns of the residents is even with 3, have you looked at two floors and that be more conducive to this area? And then have some commercial on the 1 floor? And do you own where the Fire's Ice Cream is, or they still own that?
The person who owns Far Ice Cream also owns this land.
Oh, so you have a
part of the
person, yeah.
partnership owns the platted Black Hawk ones that were never built that would technically be absorbed into this if approved.
So have you looked at doing just a 2-story?
No, we have not looked at a 2-story. Straight commercial, I don't know that our clients would have an appetite for it. They would most likely just market and sell the land if it came to that.
Because we have a couple of new buildings in Payson that are 3-story and they just don't fit. They don't look good there. It's weird. I live on this end of town, not in this neighborhood, but I frequent that area. I just don't think a 3-story building fits there, and mixed use, I'm not a fan of mixed use. I think of the Riverwoods in Provo, they have mixed use and hardly any of those stores stay full. Most of them are vacant and it doesn't work. And if Provo can't handle it, we can't.
Part of the constraints of the Provo River, what you need to look at their leasing prices, they are triple to quadruple what.
I understand that too, but I mean, it is a high-end place there.
Yeah.
And they still can't handle it.
Right.
So I don't like the 3-story.
And I like Brian, because I was gonna bring that up too, about 2 stories. I don't have a problem with 2 stories, but I do 3 stories. Like,
It's too high here.
it is too high. We've done it because we did have, because our ordinances,
If it's 2 stories, do you have a preference on rooftop amenities? So when we originally were planning to do this, we were looking at a possible rooftop restaurant, because you have views of the temple and everything. But then we also looked at putting in like rooftop gardens so that the tenants would have access to green space and be able to garden on the property. We got rid of the rooftop amenities because the neighbors felt that it would rob all their privacy if you're on top of a building being able to look down.
But that was a 3-story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 3 and the 4 story.
Yeah, but a rooftop amenity is basically a 3rd story.
That's what I'm asking.
so if you went to a 2nd story, it would be still a rooftop.
That would be like
I
a
mean,
3rd story.
I look at,
privacy is
no,
still an
because it
issue.
would still be, it would be on the 2nd story.
It would be on
That would be the
2nd
story.
It would be the equivalent.
But it would feel like the 4 level of a 3rd story. But the
I would be
reality.
more in favor of that. I haven't said much down on this end, I apologize, but yeah, it's a tough piece of property. And those houses there were built years ago and those big vacant build and yeah, we've seen lots of different ideas in there. I know it's expensive to draw them up, but to see what the buildings would look like, sometimes when you see them from a front view or side view, you know.
To get to the point that got us the planning commission and everything, our clients are into the $60,000. Obviously, that's part of the process, but
It is.
keep that in mind if you're wanting us
To give us 4
explore some
different
of these out.
architectural renderings, so we know what they look like.
So we do have those, and we actually supplied 3D renderings and a 3D fly-through of what the project and the building would
The
look
way
like.
we currently look now, I think that would be something that if
Do
you
we have
got
any
them,
access to that?
sometimes that helps us up here.
I didn't know that was the full presentation.
But this is the.
So this is on the fruit grower side, because it's where the covered parking is. That was the center where the dog park and playground was gonna be for some of the green space amenities that we could move.
Even 2-story, I'd like to see reduced residential.
So you have 2-story houses that are just on the other side of the fence. We have setbacks. So by the time, if you're in someone's house on the other side of the fence, with their setback, with our setback, a 3-story building isn't that tall in
But
reality.
it's still,
If we could do like a scale comparison to.
And the
kind of show
2-story
the
buildings are
visual.
not as high as the 2nd story. Those other houses.
So one of the other comments that was in planning commission that's shown on our new concept is, your code asks for broadleaf trees along the residential side, but the residences brought up that in the winter, all those leaves are gone, so then all the privacy is gone. So planning commission suggested putting pine trees there. We did show that on the new concept, that isn't part of this thing, but it was putting one of those at every 20 feet around the entire perimeter to try and help with that privacy. Obviously, trees take time to grow though.
So
Like
how many,
What type of trees?
Know what size. Cause I mean, you can plant a pine tree that's 30 years before it would do any good.
That's
So-
the concern with pine trees, is they're one of the slower growing trees, but they're the ones that stay filled year round. So that would be something that we have to figure out.
Then you go back to what size of tree, how mature that tree is put in, and that goes back to cost.
Yeah.
and how many units again? About 50 units?
50 and 50. But if it was dropped to 2 stories, then obviously we're not gonna be able to shove 50 doors in there, so that would
But still,
adjust.
if you count.
But you put a
each
rooftop
unit having
restaurant,
2
you have to put
cars,
your-
I'm still concerned about traffic.
Can we get that traffic study back? And then, I think, I don't know, I'm not So as anti as they might be, I'd love to see the study with traffic.
As far as the height of the building being 3 stories tall, when we dropped to 3 stories, we came and met with your staff and looked at the code, and when it does border residential, whether it's 2 stories or 3 stories, our interior can't be higher than 35 feet, basically. And when we had those 3D renderings made by our architect, we told them to meet all those requirements. So what was shown is meeting that portion of the code next to residential where it can't be higher than 35 feet.
Which is the 2-story residential.
It's also the max height of your ceiling or your roof of a 2-story home. So it would have to match that same thing, whether it was 2 or 3 stories in what we were showing.
And with the density and the parking and the traffic, having this as close to I-15 is better because that road's designed to bring traffic in and out of
All the way
Payson.
up to Spring Creek and all.
But I know that it's a big road, but turning in and out of there is always a concern.
The traffic study might tell us that it has to be a right in, right out, only you can't do any left turns and have a different type of traffic flow. With the traffic study, they do reach out to UDOT and discuss the project and what we're proposing and how they determine their numbers and write the report.
You know, your commercial, we really don't. My opinion is we want commercial. We want people walking in, not office space. That's, when I say commercial, I mean people going in and spending money.
Retail, sales
Yes,
tax, yeah.
not an
It's
office.
becoming ever more elusive with the internet, it really is. Harder to keep them.
And I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's hard to
their
fill
medical
those
offices, salon services, massages. Like
Yeah, those will all bring in sales tax.
One of the hurdles with us on the financial side is if we did straight commercial, so when we do a mixed use building in a project of this scale cost wise, the bank looks at the commercial and says pre-sale 50 to 80% of that, and then we'll give you your loan. If this site is 100% commercial, it may, if we can't pre-lease it, if we can't pre-sell all of it, then they'll never allow us to develop it, and it's basically blocking our owner from ever using their land. So we can look at that and discuss it with them as well as the 2-story option. But commercial from a funding perspective and a building perspective right now is extremely difficult in the current economy and just how things shifted over the last 4 years. And like even our projects out in Vernal, and again, different city center, different location, but we have 2 of those mixed use buildings and we have 100% of one commercially filled, 50% of the other. We've pre-sold 13 of the 18 doors. We've pre-leased part of the apartments in the other building, and banks are still gun shy to it because of the commercial. So if this was straight residential, we fund it right now. But because it's commercial, and it doesn't matter that I have LOIs, 5-year triple net leases on all the commercial, they still won't touch it. So that makes that very difficult for our client to switch to pure commercial.
You're doing really well if you got that much already, because usually the mixed use, you get all up, the apartments all rented out or sold, and then the commercial comes like a couple of years later.
Yeah.
So that's what you usually see with mixed use right now.
Us being in real estate, we know that's a hurdle. We've already talked to an orthodontist that's talking about moving his practice and loves the Payson area. Obviously, that's not retail sales. It's not gonna generate you the same sales tax. But those are the types of commercial entities that are interested. Salon services. We do have a Solitude Salon Studios out of going to Vernal with us. They want a location in this building. If we place it, they want to place another location in St. George. They're currently expanding. So we are constantly looking for ways to fill that because we know it's that hurdle. But even when we have it filled and we've met that, the banks are still just, it's hard right now.
Just for me, I would look at the 2-story option.
I'll run the
The
performance.
third story, I still no way. Right now.
So initially, when we submitted this a couple years ago, we had submitted the general plan, our clients had already owned the land, so we came into it, they already owned it. We submitted, and there was no building height restriction, as long as like 20 feet or something like that from the perimeter. So we're thinking 4 stories. And the thing that's tricky with that overlay, I guess, just for your guys' info and for future developments and projects, we're being required to spend a fortune just to stand in front of you. That's crazy. If somehow we could come in to get an overlay without having to have all of this research done. So we come into a meeting 2 years ago, staff says, you guys should do a traffic study. We do a traffic study. Then they decide, you guys should do a feasibility study. We do a feasibility study. It comes back very feasible, very positive. It outperformed our performance. Then we find out that there was a meeting that changed the code after we had already submitted. So now the code's changed. Now there are building restrictions. Now there's floor height restrictions and building height restrictions. So we have a landowner in Payson that wants to do something with their land. And Payson keeps seeming to try to like stonewall us and prevent us from being able to use our land just like any other Payson resident would want to. I'm calling Breaker.
So I just have a
one of the
question,
best
how do we
developers.
compare to other cities? I mean, are we more difficult to work with? Or, I mean, do they have the same ordinances and rules that we do? Or are we throwing stuff at you that other cities don't require?
With the overlay, we don't have to put that much money up front just to find out if we can do a project. It's like $60,000 is a pretty big due diligence cost.
So you don't have to do that in other cities?
No,
Okay,
not to
so
that extent.
explain to me, like, we want people coming
It's,
and we want to make it so
yeah,
it's
it's just different. Other cities sometimes wait until the zone change is approved before we do a traffic study. We discuss with the staff, like, we're fine to put it in, like, it's part of the process and everything, and however the site ends up getting used, it can be valuable data. But, I think Colin's just trying to make the point that getting more direction or having more ability to discuss that or bring it up without spending that kind of money would be beneficial in the future to anyone. that-
I appreciate all the
Well,
time.
then we do
I-
the study, but it doesn't seem as anyone's looked at it. It's like the traffic study is good for more than 2 years. It's good for 5 to 10 years. We're redoing it as a request, but in reality, it's probably not gonna change a ton. Our feasibility study, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's an impressive study supporting the need of commercial. in
Well, we
that.
do, we don't deny that
And
part.
it's suggesting that this building will provide that.
So
we
I
can
appreciate
provide
all the
that.
time and money that you put into this, but as a Payson resident, I didn't need to drive out a traffic study. I know how busy it is there. I've gone in and out of that area. I frequented bars. I frequent a chiropractor there. I know how hard it is. I have a couple of teenage drivers. That road is scary. So I don't need the traffic study, the feasibility study, just as a Payson resident. I'm just talking for myself. I'm not talking for the rest of the council. I already don't want the 3-story. I understand that you had to do all this stuff. But we still look at it as people who live here.
Yeah.
I don't know where the landowner lives.
We'll office here too, our office.
And I understand that too.
And that's part of the.
Where does the
process of
landowner
our
live?
tonight, is to hear their comments and see what would make the project more viable.
I just think the 2-story
Two-story is
is
better.
the
Fits
highest
Payson
you
better.
wanna go right now, where it's at. Now, if it were out, out there on Arrowhead, where there's already 3- and 4-story buildings, it would fit there. But this, you're coming along and maybe you have 1 or 2-story houses and then all of a sudden 3-story. It just looks unnatural.
I don't think it's that far off from
Oh,
where
we will.
the fruit
I know it's
growers.
all.
where
And
the
also,
fruit
I look
growers
at
are
it,
that tall.
I look at it from a law enforcement situation as well. Everywhere there is high density, there is higher law enforcement need. And in my neighborhood, I have numerous townhomes in my neighborhood. And there are drug problems there, and it's a nice neighborhood because you have a high number of rentals. And I come from a family that rented until I was 17. We were good renters, but the higher density, the higher the chance of law enforcement and needing to be there. And this causes kind of a problem. They could get bottlenecked in the back, something like that. And the traffic, I'm just not convinced. And the 3-story, that's just too high. And we will notice it because we live here.
If it was 2-story or straight commercial, how would you change that site design that would make it a little bit?
Well, it doesn't even have to stay straight commercial. I mean, it could be commercial on the bottom. And I don't have a
No, I
problem.
understand that.
with
I'm
just
not
the 2-story.
understanding how she would change.
I would just do commercial.
I mean, that's pretty much.
I don't know, a good restaurant there would be nice.
Yeah.
I just mean, you were talking about it wouldn't be safe for emergency services to get through or around the side or cause problems at the back. But if it's commercial, how does
Well,
that change?
you're talking about 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom possible rentals.
2 and 3 bedroom with only filling in with ones if there's space in the building.
Right,
Instead of normal.
there are just too many factors. I think we need to go back to the drawing board.
I think these
we
are
need a
similar to
better
the
restaurant.
condos on the west side of the freeway, and the only
It's
difference
over
would be.
there.
And what's the issues?
Major,
Why don't you ask the police chief
they're there all the time.
to live out?
Well, and I'm not, I tell you, I put the devil's advocate all the time, but it's, when you say that there's more, what?
Like an angel's advocate.
I know, but you say there's more police presence required there, that's because there's more people there. And that's, so like, but as, if there's 1,000 people living in here, I'd like to see the numbers compared to where 1,000 people live in your neighborhood, you know what I mean? I think it looks like there's more there, but it's per capita, it's not more of a police presence, but I may be wrong.
Well, yeah, that's why it's called high
I
density.
think, but it generates tax revenue,
And
which
real
also
estate-
pays
real
for the
estate-
additional police.
I think we're kind of talking in circles right now.
I guess just one quick thing to add, because Colin, I appreciate the due diligence your client spends, a lot of money, it's time. I guess one reason that's that way here is because this is where one of our few powers lies with zoning. After this gets approved or rejected, then it goes all to staff and it's more administrative and less legislative. And so that's why we like to have a lot of that data, because the zoning is where the rubber meets the road for us as officials. And so that's why we do require so much info, so I appreciate you. Yes, so thank you.
And we appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah,
so
and this
much.
is our main drag to the temple, and we're concerned about aesthetics, so I guess I feel like the appetite is maybe we could explore 2 stories,
That's what I was
residential
going to.
and commercial.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to, we're kind of talking in circles there, and I think the 2-story is one that's really case. Right.
So going back to what Ann said about restaurants, I've shown this to a couple of mid-sized restaurants, national, and they didn't bite on this at all, just because it's not. on the-
Without the
That's
street
not
frontage,
right. That
without
makes sense.
street frontage for your commercial, it's hard.
Yep.
And that's where the types of businesses we were trying to fill it with will make the site successful. And the residential allows that, the blend for that to happen.
I think it depends on the food. I think it
Well,
depends on the
I know,
restaurant,
but
depends
they
on
have
the
to
food.
want to come.
They need to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fully the location problem.
Thank you guys for your time and
Appreciate it.
energy, and that's our feedback right now.
Thanks, you guys.
Hey, Michael, I guess we got another one?
Just one comment. So it sounds like, to wrap that up, it sounds like you're asking them to explore the option of 2 stories. Is there items that you would want to see in some sort of a development agreement, or you just want them to explore the 2 stories and that's the only direction that you're giving tonight?
Robert, do you have any recommendations?
I think that exploring 2 stories is obviously going to put them into an area of unexplored evaluation. Right? So,
Totally changes the parking requirements and things too, like. You
It would
could
bring it
increase
down.
the footprint of the buildings by 30% because you've lost 30% of your parking, but then you're gonna have to bring your parking back into the equation as well.
I think your 2-story height requirement's the same as our 3-story building too. So
So you could, it'd just be less windows, it'd still be the same height.
So can make this easier for applicants.
This is a zone change request. Okay, they can go in there and they can request as is right now, right? And they can submit that. When someone comes in and is asking for a zone change request, that means that we are adding additional evaluation to make sure that the project is going to work. Make sure that you have all of the information that you need to make a decision.
If we decide to do the zone
So
change.
we should not make zone changes.
Not a zone change, but I don't wanna see them spending that much money either. I mean,
Well, that's because they're changing the zone.
yeah, so we require that, like,
There's, right,
okay,
and we receive all sorts of applications. Right? And those that are robust generally answer the questions that you need. In this case, a robust application provided you with information to say, that's not really what you want to see, right? That we didn't have to go down this road. They could have just come to city council and had this discussion.
but that's what I wondered if we should have done it that way, because, like I said, we've already done this several years ago, and another council. And
The flip side to that is we come in to council and an applicant comes into the council and says, we want to have this overlay or we want to have this zone change. And you say, well, what is it going to look like? And you can't provide any of that information. And so providing all of that just gives you some assurance. We can make it easier, but it makes the decision harder.
Well, like we.
Yeah, I mean, just one simple thing is like a traffic study.
My name's Joe Wilkins.
So in order to do a traffic study, we're laying out, well over $6,000 originally. And even when we go to the meetings or whatever, nobody actually reads it. The staff probably reads it. And so then we go to planning commission, they're saying, well, it's 2 years old. We're only going to give you a recommendation to go to city council if you give us a new traffic study. Well, there's another $6,500. So now you're looking at $13,000 for a traffic study. For what? Has anybody read the one we have already? And that's kind of like why it becomes expensive, because then they're saying, well, we want to see the 3-story version. So we redesign the 3-story version. And they say, well, we want to take all the planners. So this is all drawn to city code. So then they want to say, well, let's take all the grass and all the stuff, we'll put it all over there. So having a 10-foot grass section on the east side, we'll take the grass that's on the building, and on the other side of the building, bring the sidewalks closer, put all that grass over there, so we go from 10 to 30 feet. Plus parking, that's just the grass portion. So we go back and redesign it, and it's like, it's not being reviewed. And so I think it would help if we started, I think if you start at city council, it's a lot better, because then we could do all this stuff for what you guys want, and maybe get past spending, double the money to get what everybody else wanted to get us here that you guys don't even really want to look at. And so for us, we spent a lot of money, and I would guess nobody's read the traffic study, and nobody's probably.
Well, we're doing a new one tomorrow. Wasn't right.
And you've said that you don't even care what it says, right? You don't care what it says. You said that, straight to us. Is that right?
I care, I just don't need to see one, because I live over here.
Right.
I know how busy it is.
See, I
I know
know
how
on the
hard
other
it
side
is
of
to
town,
get in.
that road's got lots of growth potential, because you try getting on SR one, the 100 north, you put your life in risk, it is.
Yeah, and
100 times.
But I also, if you had one, I'm not saying I'm set in stone. But if we had one ready tonight, who knows, that might have changed my mind.
The last two were positive, and when we came 2 years ago, they said, go do the engineering.
Well,
They
2 of us
ignored it,
weren't
but-
on here
I
2 years ago,
understand,
so that's
but-
the problem.
Yeah,
That's
and
why we're 2 years into it.
And
60,000.
when we look at traffic study for this project, every single house built in Payson on this quadrant, which is 3/4 of Payson, adds to the traffic. So this one project is like very minuscule to what's going, like, there was a project for 6 twin homes a minute ago, right? So there's how many more traffic? Well, all those people are using that same corridor. So if you look at this building by itself, what it's adding, really every single thing you do in Payson adds to it.
But those don't come right onto this street. This is a very, very busy street. That's my point.
Yeah.
That impacts right there between two lights. And it makes it super busy. We already have restaurants over there. We already have Dutch Bros, and we have a new paint building. We have all these places where people come in and out, and you add 50 units with maybe we'll say 2 cars per unit. That's a lot.
So 100 cars a day compared to 25,000 a day.
But right there coming in and out, it's not just going up and down
But
that
if you're a
corridor.
retail store, you're gonna have bigger people go to that one store.
It's true.
You
I
have
understand
way
that.
more traffic.
I understand that.
And
Commercial's way more traffic.
commercial, we look at commercial on a property like this. We're talking office space. We're talking to an orthodontist that wants to put a 5,000 square foot orthodontist practice in here. If you go to like stores, they're not gonna bite on that. Like the kind of retail that, it's been suggested is, if you go talk to them and they look at that property, they're not gonna look at that. It's not a great option. So
So I just have one thing, maybe just to go back to this, because this is a difficult piece of property and you're looking at an overlay, and I know you put out a lot of money, but maybe one thing as a city we could look at is when we know there's gonna be a difficult piece of property, is just have a work session that we might be able to look at something kind of preliminary and give some ideas, but just something that we think about.
Let's
Thank
say
you for your input.
we spend the money, we redraw this at 2 stories. Is that something that's got possibility, or we just spend more time?
It's a possibility for me.
I liked your fly through. I like the looks of it. To me, next to that big Payson fruit growers, I don't think it's a bad transition. So for me, I like this. I'd like to see you move forward. I know that the other 4 aren't on the same page, but in inflation, you won 20% of us over.
So the other side is that maybe, we're getting our density in the 3 stories. If we're gonna lose an entire level, we're gonna lose some, quite a few units. In order to maintain at least a somewhat decent amount, it takes rental units to pay for the commercial. I mean, it may not, and the only reason we do mixed use buildings, because cities require it. It's financially not a good option for developers, or, we live in a mixed use building in Springville, our office is on the main floor. And it's similar to this, it's a bigger building, it's a big 4-story building, and all the offices on the bottom are there during the day, and there is ample parking. And, they have balconies on the whole building. We've been there for 3 or 4 years. In 3 or 4 years, I can tell you, I've never seen one person out on their balconies. So the balconies are a nice feature. People want to buy a unit with a balcony. And those are just things that, some people look at it like, oh, they're gonna be standing on the balcony in my yard. I'm like, yeah, if you see somebody out on their balcony, it's gonna be pretty rare. So, but we would be happy to look at a 2-story version, but maybe we could spread it out a little bit, because we're gonna not need so much spot parking.
What is the density per acre when we're looking at this?
We're looking at about 3.5 acres.
So you're talking 15 to 20.
19.
What's something that's comparable to that?
Robert, what's Arrowhead?
The what?
The Arrowhead condos.
The Arrowhead condos, the ones that they just decondomized last time.
There's 90 doors on 5 acres.
It's just, the what?
90 doors on 5 acres.
Yes, I mean, so we're happy to look at redesign that. We just want it to be productive.
And that's what we want too. We want that too. We're just looking at it. What's the best for that area? What's the best for Payson? Look like Payson, or look like.
So would you guys entertain 2 stories?
Yes. That's the fact.
And if we spread it out just a little bit, so we can maintain at least some of the units to help pay for commercial, that be favorable.
We're never gonna get it absolutely perfect. We're never gonna get the traffic down to the level we want, but
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think, I think we've kind of complained a little bit, but it's like you do, planning commission wants this, staff wants this, everyone else, and then we get here and then you guys want something different, so. In my mind, it's like, I don't even know why we have planning commission, I think we should always just be able to go right to city council.
State law requires it.
And they're really nice people.
Yeah,
we love them.
But you know what, maybe we really do something like this, we need to have a get together.
Exactly,
Like we're doing right now,
exactly.
instead of it being city council.
What is the zone for now, Robert?
I know, but before or after.
Just commercial.
And if it was out on the road, commercial would it'd be a fantastic spot.
Well, and that's originally we were looking at a hotel in here for that reason and got a lot of pushback from the neighbors for that reason. That was what they were looking at, was 3 or 4 stores for a hotel.
It sounds like everybody would love to see it.
We'll go back and visit.
Sorry.
Well, I just want to have, the guide, like, we're here for guidance, but we're at the end of the road getting different guidance we've got all along, so it just makes it.
I see your frustration.
But for the zoning. Yeah, for the zoning.
I would recommend that before you go redesign it, how far into it do they need to be to come back in for the zone change?
We can do it, I mean, I'm okay to do a rendering.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
And then
Terrible.
get back in sooner rather than later, and get your zone change or even before, get the solidified plans down. That's kind of, I don't know, I do a lot of construction.
The reason for tonight was planning commission said the zoning like limiting it to 2 stories. Because technically, if you just give us the zone change, as long as we meet the code, we could still go to the 3 stories. So if we're gonna come back to the zone change, we need to know which conditions you want us to park.
One thing too about your traffic study, that's gonna be worst case because this is gonna be a little bit smaller, so it'll be worst case, so you don't need to change that.
Yeah, and then when you read the traffic study, because of all the existing traffic, it's such a small percentage.
We promise we'll read it.
Well, and just so you know, we take our plan, our city plan, our general plan seriously, and so to make a zone change, we need to be thoroughly convinced to make the zone change, because we zoned it a certain way on purpose in the first place.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we targeted this, because it was targeted by Payson as overlay zone for this zone.
Right, but still commercial. So we gotta be sure that when we make a zone change, it's the right thing to do.
I appreciate your time. I don't want to complain. I just my own point was like, if planning commission, city council, and staff work together, it saves a lot of the stuff that doesn't matter.
Well, it is an iterative process, right? It is an iterative process, and we can do things to make that better, but we've come a long ways to get here.
But I think that's one of the beauties of our government, it's slow moving with many checks and balances.
Which is a frustrating part.
Yes.
Yes.
I often say if government doesn't do anything wrong.
All right, thank you for your time and your thoughtful comments, thank you.
We ready for another one?
I think so. So I'm going to invite Tyler Haran up here. The intent for this work session is to talk a little bit about the area just south of Red Bridge. Tyler, you had a presentation, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull it up then. If you want to start talking a little bit, I'll find it and pull it up, okay?
Hello, glad to have some time to talk to you guys tonight.
I'm feeling a little sheepish. Maybe I should have brought some backup, so, take it easy, it's just me.
You don't need any backup.
Yeah.
You got it.
I'll do my best. I'm definitely not a public speaker by any means, and I'm not here to convince you, just honestly looking for some feedback, so. I have a presentation while Michael's pulling it up, so maybe a little bit of context. So similar to that project, this isn't like an application or anything, or just, we have a concept plan, want to get your thoughts on it. My hope is that we can get your feedback, and then after I have it, I can take your feedback, incorporate it into our plan, and then submit an application to help avoid some of that friction. So, smart man. Yeah, maybe it'll go good. So obviously the city council's here, and then the planning commission, I think, as well as that.
Yeah, 3 members.
Couple of us, there's 3 of us back here, so.
So we're always pulling the presentation up, just a little bit more context. So right now, the project that we're talking about, we own a few hundred acres in Payson. Just one area specific that we want to talk about tonight. It's just right south of Redbridge. A couple of years ago, we bought 25 acres, and this was with some of the city council members were here, but we have a preliminary site plan that we've already got approved for this 20 acres, and we've got the zoning in place. Since that time, we've kind of been waiting on Redbridge to move forward, I guess. We're still waiting on that, but in between when we bought the first 25 acres and now we've got another 20 acres that's right next to our project under contract. And so our hope is that we can add that 20 acres to our existing project. And so that's kind of what.
Are they touching their continuous pieces, Tyler?
Yeah, they're right next to each other. Okay, so here we go. I just included this, just as a map. I think you all know where Redbridge is. This right here is the 20 acres that we've got designed previously. And then just right south of it is the 20 acres that we actually haven't purchased it yet. We passed our due diligence and we've already spent all the money to do all the studies. So we plan on closing on it. We will close on it in October, but we want to get some feedback now. So I do just want to run through this real quick, like I said, and then I'm going to take notes on your guys' thoughts. So this is the current zoning in the area. You can see like Redbridge is a RMF 15 zone. This is our the 20 acres and 5 acres that we purchased previously, which is the RMF 10 zone. And then this is the 20 acres that we're going to purchase, and that's in that agricultural like holding zone, which I think is just like the idea was kind of a temporary zone until we're ready to move forward with development.
You can build one house on it right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't there already a house on it?
yeah, there's some old houses that are a little bit run, yeah, a little bit run down. What we're proposing, and again, it's not tonight, but we would propose a zone change to RMF 15 for this area. And really what we want to do tonight is show you guys what that would look like, and then just get your feedback on your thoughts, really.
You have to clarify for us, so RMF 15 versus 10, is that 15 units per acre versus 10 units per acre?
Yeah, I think all the parameters of the zone stay the same with the exception of the density. So like the open space and like all that kind of stuff, I believe stays the same. It just changes the unit counts.
Right.
But I think even in the RMF 10, you can still build 3 stories. It's just you build more units per acre than in the 15 than 10. So really, why are we asking for this? Honestly, the biggest reason, in 10 units per acre, that's really a townhome type development with that level of density. That's about what you build is townhomes. If you go to like 15 units per acre, then that's when it starts making sense to do a condo, which is, well, you guys know what a condo is. It's similar to an apartment, except for it, you know, you can own the apartment. So like, we would be selling the condos. And then the other, like, I think the real reason that we want to combine these developments is because it gives us opportunity to share the amenities and make it so one HOA can maintain like an entire area, probably do a better job, have a lower fee. If we were to do these as two separate developments, there would be two different HOAs. The way that the code is written, we'd have to build like two different clubhouses, two different sets of amenities. We would rather just kind of do it all at once. That helps avoid, like, I don't know, some people call it piecemealing, when you just get a little development here and then a little development there, and then it just kind of looks like it ended up being pieced together. If you can design it all at once, it's a little bit more efficient for like roads and utilities. So I do think that'd be another benefit. And then the other thing I'll say about the way that we would like to design this, we've been here for a while, and one thing that we've heard loud and clear is that, like in Payson, it's really important to have a 25-foot driveway. And at first we were a little resistant to that, I'll admit, didn't really think that, kind of thought, that's just crazy. But honestly, I could say, like, you guys are right about that. Like, people really do want a big driveway here, and so it's definitely not the most economical thing, because you lose a lot of land when you do it. That's why, you know, people push against it. But
You just do your house forward design with your garage back, and then you just.
yeah, and actually,
Driveways.
yeah, that's a big thing that I want to ask you guys about. We spent money to create two site plans that have different products. So I want to get your feedback on like what your thoughts are. But
I know Teresa doesn't like the garage out front.
yeah, and yeah, we can look at that. Just the point that I just really want to drive home real quick is, I know like a lot of times it seems we're asking for more density. It's just like we're just trying to make more money. Honestly, the way that we want to design this and build this is in an effort to provide affordable housing that is attractive to people. So like, we do want to build 25-foot driveways. We do want to have more parking, so that this actually feels like a place someone would want to live, but yet that they can also actually afford to buy. I know you guys hear about affordability a lot, but yeah, I mean, it is a real thing. We sell houses, so we see how happy people are when they can buy a house, and so that's something that we do want to address.
You didn't want to do the way I suggested.
What's that?
You just didn't want to build $400,000 houses and sell them for $225.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's what I suggested to him. He wasn't willing to do it.
I just would
He didn't
not
wanna
have a
take one
job.
for the team.
Yeah, even it's our family businesses, but like, even I wouldn't have a job if I did that. So you can understand. Yeah, it would not go good. So here's a site plan. I apologize. Like, so for reference, this is 45 acres. So this is a lot of area and a lot of information to take in. I don't know. I can zoom in here. So this gray area shows the section that already kind of has preliminary approval. We don't really want to change that. We've already done like a full civil design, like totally designed the entire site. This is all townhomes. But then if you look at the rest of the site plan, these purple buildings are condos, and these yellow type buildings are townhomes. And this layout is what we would prefer to do. We need to work with Travis and Jonathan a little bit, because this layout has us building some private drives, which has been a little bit of like a back and forth with the city. They're not desirable, but if the only way that we can avoid having a garage face the street is to have an alley behind the unit, so that the garage is in the back and the front of the house is just like windows and doors. So this is the layout that, you know, we would like to build, and we think would be good. But one thing that I'll mention is, this is the area where we've already designed the clubhouse and pool. So that's where we would build that. But obviously with a project this big, there's land available to do different amenities. I know like Brett has told me for a couple of years that he wants like the Brett Christensen Dog Park.
No, that's the mayor's dog.
Oh, maybe it's the mayor's dog park. But a dog park is one amenity that we've been told the residents really would like here. The other one I know is kind of hot item is pickleball courts. Would love to have suggestions on other amenities. Like I say, with this big of a project, like we're gonna want to provide a lot of amenities that make it desirable. So we'll look for your feedback on that.
So here's the angel's advocate. It's for you. It's something that you need to look at with White Horse Construction is this isn't the end of the road for them. In fact, just south of here is approximately 54 acres.
We bought, 54 acres from the Hoffman lady and then another 30 acres from the Huff family.
Okay.
So we have another project that's south of here.
The
just a little bit.
84 acres there. So I think the key that we need to remember as a council is this urban sprawl. As we move ourselves out and away, if you can promise us that this is the end of the density and we're moving to those, 1/8 acre lots, 1/4 acre lots, 1/2 acre lots, we're moving ourselves out to the bigger properties. The farther south we go, that's something we need to keep in mind and just kind of keep it rolling. Sorry, I had to stand up.
What we talked about as well.
Yeah.
The one thing I look at here is when's the transition gonna start happening? We just keep moving, like Brett said, we'll keep moving farther south. And then the next person that buys the lots next to us said, well, there's townhomes and condos, so we want to continue that. What happens if we start the transition here at the very south end? You start doing some smaller single family lots. That way it stops the spread because now this is where we're going, but that's an idea.
1,400 square feet homes.
Small lots,
Just a
Yeah.
little ribbon along the bottom, then we've transitioned, then we can't go back to the town.
And you can do 4 bedrooms in 14 acres.
Yeah.
No. I can be nice.
I think that's really something important to think about, as we have looked at this a little bit more contextually and things like that. If you think about this area, we're going south from Red Bridge, which is near the 8 South interchange. Then we're gonna go south, but then we're going to intercept into the Taylor Ranch property.
Yeah, which is why I want to transition now.
Which is going to one day also be an interchange.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Taylor Ranch, it's one overpass north of the interchange.
And 12,000 south will not be, 12,400 will be the interchange, but if you think about the normal course of development, how are we going to intersect those two? To me, personally, as we look, there are 2 other boundaries to consider. You have the freeway and the railroad track. And what does that density look like? And then as we move farther west, what is that density? So I hear loud and clear what you're saying. I also want you to think about it in the context of the regional perspective.
I think further west, we get less dense, but further south, we save for commercial and other things and even higher density, because the proximity to I-15 is extremely close. I mean, that frontage road is right there. And so I think really the push is to preserve the lower density to the west.
And that's kind of in line with what we were thinking initially as well.
But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't get a little bit of breathing room too.
We should have a mix of housing types.
So Robert, kind of the way I look at it is 12,400, yeah, you get your commercial, then you start getting your condos and your higher density, and then you move to smaller lots and then maybe some bigger lots, and then you kind of come together in the middle. This is where your smaller lots, bigger houses are, or bigger lots, but it just kind of moves in from both sides.
In that middle area.
Right. So White Horse has some of their property.
We're sandwiching two intersections together. Are we to the meet in the middle, or are we still at the very end, right?
Right. The other thing to consider as well, like, we've talked to the Taylor Ranch people and they've said, yeah, we can put commercial in, but there's always a trade-off, right? So to have more commercial, the trade-off is density. So where you're saying, well, we want this, we want to go from high density, we want to gradually spread out, it's fantastic. But then, what, like Robert said, you're gonna butt up to Taylor Ranch and you want the commercial and the interchange, and they're gonna be like, well, I want density if I have to build all that. And then you're back into the.
Well, you could have the commercial, be the transition to more density.
You're right, I'm just saying, the talk has been, okay, well, as we go south, but I think the talk needs to be more, as we go west, less dense. This section between two interchanges and railroad tracks, that's kind of where you want your high density, maybe you do have a few of those 6,000 square foot lots, kind of.
And I-15's gonna get bigger. I mean, it's
Right.
only 2 lanes right there. I-15's gonna go further.
Oh, yeah, there's.
So I just wanted to make sure we were considering the bigger picture.
Biggest
So
concern
we'll
about
continue
this,
to
and I've
be
talked
bigger,
to the
let's
staff
get smaller on the other side.
is getting that road up and running that needs to be there. Cause there's a main thoroughfare that goes through the middle of this development. And unfortunate for Tyler, he's gotta put a lot of that in, but
Yeah.
we've talked about there's a hiccup, there's a spot in the middle of it that we can't quite get through right now. But I even used the eminent domain phrase there for a little bit to see if it's where we need it to be, but I just, that frontage road, we keep talking about it as being overran, too much traffic on there, but it'd be nice to start moving forward and getting this road done, but I hate to build the middle of it. How do we get the whole thing connected from one end to the other before we put all this in there? Tyler? I'll red pine, get them out there.
Yeah, I definitely don't have the answers to all of that. Like I know this area, this is why we're only talking about this area is what you mentioned, like, this road, I don't know why it like didn't go through. It's just like a dead end road, but, like we don't have the solution to that right now. So we're not really talking about that south area. One thing that I've heard from Brian and the mayor, and I hear you guys loud and clear, is like, if we are to approve a project like this, right here, obviously I can't say anything about what the people that own the land in the middle are gonna do, but like our plan for the south, which I obviously can agree to what we would do there, is to build predominantly single family. The last layout we did have some townhomes. I mean,
What size of single family?
there is a range on the west side of the creek. That's one thing I didn't point out very well.
So that west side of the creek is where we would sort of make that transition that we're talking about.
Yeah, so down
There's
south.
still the railroad tracks west of there.
Yeah, there are some large lots that are against the railroad track, which they just won't sell for as much. We just discount those, but they'll still sell. It's just not as valuable as the ones that are on the other side of the street. But to the south, I think it's between 1/4 acre and 1/3 acre lots on the west side of the creek. And then on the east side of the creek, we laid out, I want to say like 5,000 square foot lots. On a 5,000 square foot lot, the home that we build actually can have a 3rd car garage. So if we go to 4,000, we can only have a 2-car garage, but on the 5,000s, we get 3-car. So we usually like to alternate so that it's not one of those communities where you just like drive down and it's, exact same. It's like copy and paste. So I guess that for me, the project at hand that we're talking about right here, right now, I think amenities are important. A dog park, that'd be great because it'd be coming into a new area where the neighbors know what they're getting into. Yep. I think putting it in an established neighborhood would be a nightmare, so I think that's great. Pickleball courts are wonderful. I guess I'd encourage you not to go skimpy on your streets, make them nice and wide, because you guys there spend money on, and then no 1 bedroom. Yeah. We don't, yeah, we don't sell.
One cracker and that bridge.
Yes, I know, so that's all. So at least 2 bedrooms, hopefully 3.
Have we given you enough, guidance?
Just enough room.
Yeah, just to, like, we don't do any one bedroom homes. Our condos are 3 bedrooms. Yeah, and thanks, Robert. I forgot I have it on here.
So can I ask you something too?
Yeah.
You did come right of course with my daughter. No, just teasing.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
No.
Dating service.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of follow.
Yeah, I'm having like a hard enough time, but I don't.
Shame on you.
Anyway,
So,
so is there a way that we can deed restrict that or something so that we don't have all these rentals?
Yeah, we want to preserve home ownership. So
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
Just like the last conversation said, to keep them FHA approved, they have to be less than 51%.
I know,
Yeah.
but still, that's a lot that you could rent out, like when we did that thing here a couple weeks ago, because like you said, he wanted all these people that wanted to just rent them out. Is there a
Big
way?
corporations don't care about the FHA rules, they just come in and buy entire buildings. Yeah, I'm definitely hesitant to promise stuff that we can't deliver on, but what I can tell you is that, so like the townhomes, there are no regulations. The townhome is like fee simple ownership, and so the FHA, doesn't regulate that at all. With a condo, there are the regulations that those other people spoke about. Basically, the idea is that, you can't sell more than 50% ownership to investors because they don't want investors to control the condo. Like it has, so that regulation's in place.
But is there a way that we can do something with that, Jason, so that?
They can,
What's the name of it?
they can do CC&Rs on the property. That's up to them.
Were you gonna
But
do
the
that?
CC&Rs can regulate, square footage, it can regulate, how many rentals, if the building itself, I mean, they can deed restrict it right down to the building and say only 50%, only 40% or 30%. All over the state, a lot of condo organizations have done that through CC&Rs. And then also as part of the HOA portion of it, they also restrict it as well. So they have their annual HOA meeting, and in the meeting, it's discussed, we need to know whoever is planning on renting or who is renting at the moment. And then, because if you own it, you have to get permission from the HOA if they're bumping up against that line to rent your condo. Otherwise, you have to live in it basically, or abandon it and keep paying
Could
for
you just
yourself.
sell it? I
You
mean,
can sell it,
that-
yes.
That's what I would rather see. I mean, have you thought about that? Because, I mean, we are trying to have ownership, not rentals, because that's what the other condos have turned into right there. And it's really sad because, like, seriously, there's like 10 people living in one condo that aren't even related. And I don't want to see that. I mean, it's.
Yeah. So all I'll say on this is like, there's definitely a lot of laws about this kind of stuff, and I am not up to speed on them. Like what I can say is, so maybe just to take one step back. So like our business is a family business. So Keystone Construction is our home building business and Red Pine Construction is our, like excavator. Like we can say what we're gonna do, but I definitely don't think there's anything that we can do. It's probably not legal for us to try to control. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but so we could offer up.
Well,
we
that's
could
why
have
you had
counsel go.
the
Yeah, I
the
mean,
CC&Rs,
I can figure
so
it
if you
out.
Put that in. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't be doing it, your attorney would be doing it.
Yeah, if it's legal, I mean, I guess
Well, yeah, it
just
is.
look at strict HOA, strict CC&Rs to preserve that home ownership element, generations down the road, not just that first time. So if you guys could explore that too. Yeah, so I'll have our attorney, like we use Curtin McConkey. I'll just have him find out like what's the law, and then he can write a memo and we'll just send it to you guys so that you have it just for, so you know as well as us, like what is allowed and what's not.
So Tyler, I'll ask the council, what does the council think about that right now? That's pretty much what you're wanting right now.
Yeah, just like feedback on So any idea how many acres about of green space you're looking at?
Right there in the middle there.
I want to say we were at like over 30%. So somebody that's good at math, so 45 is 1.5. It's probably like 15 acres.
15 acres, 43%.
So council, do you like this layout?
It's not real buildable, but yet it is a usable space for.
I guess me personally, I don't love garages behind the houses because it creates those alleyways. Right? It drives me nuts. Then you can't try to put a Super Duty in the garage in an alleyway. Pretty difficult, right? So
How wide are they, over 25 feet? And people 25
Is that your
feet are
driveway?
gonna
Is that what you're saying?
I guess I like the driveways in front. So,
Mayor, Mayor, I have too many conversations.
Okay, yeah, okay. It's a little, yeah. Okay, so other statements to, what do you like, what don't you like?
Again, I go back to the very south end, if we could look maybe, and that's just my opinion, just look at some small lots, so we start the transition.
so just to be clear on that, Brian, just so I make sure I understand, like we could put some single family on the south end of this.
Yep, yep.
Right here.
That would be
Okay.
awesome.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Teresa, you have anything to add?
No, I think that's,
Okay, and,
I agree.
you have anything?
I'd like
A
to
public
see
road.
more.
There, the house.
Brett, just to say, hands up.
I'd like to see more single family homes, well, the smaller ones, not necessarily the 3-car garage, just normal. Single family homes, maybe single, like all one level, single family.
You've already
Cause
told
that's
your
gonna
piece.
last me like more.
Brian, you've already told your piece. Brett, go ahead.
No, it's good, you got me.
Yeah, no, I got it. That definitely
I was
makes
just
sense.
saying public road down there on the bottom.
One thing I'll say to kind of also speak to one of your concerns, the people that own, this parcel right here, is, self-help homes out of Provo. They help people like build their own homes. I spoke to, I think Brent is his name, I believe, I asked him if they do townhomes, he said not really, he said like what they like to do is small lot, single family. Right now, I believe they're looking at a little bit larger lots than what they like, they're trying to get approval to do smaller lots, so definitely not opposed to putting small lots on our southern boundary, obviously that would also fit very well with what that organization wants to do.
Oh, but they already bought their place.
Yeah, they own that ground.
Oh, and the people who live.
Well, so somebody owns this house still, I think,
Okay.
but
It's all
they sold that. Yeah. Thank you, Tyler, thanks for coming in.
You like to have what you need, Tyler?
Smart. Yeah, no, that's great. First, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tyler.
Sorry, Tyler, I didn't mean to embarrass you.
Okay, so, well, it's too many conversations. We have got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say.
Yes.
Aye.